How you guys doing today? It's Anthony Ganji. Welcome to another episode of Chair Talk. Guys, I have the arrest warrant for the Jacqueline Torres-Garcia case, Mimi. I thought what we could do is go through it together. I haven't read it yet. I am sure this is going to answer a lot of our questions. So if you bear with me, I would like to read it with you guys. I'm very interested in the discovery, what they initially told police. Guys, I have covered this video or covered this topic multiple times. So if you want to see more up-to-date stuff, charges and whatnot, please check out my other videos. But today we are going to go right into reading the arrest warrant. So this is from the state of Connecticut. Agency is Farmington Police. And this is for Jackelyn Garcia. So it's her arrest warrant. That's the one we're reading. So it is Jacqueline. That would be the mother's sister. So if you look at this picture here, young girl is Jacqueline Mimi Torres-Garcia. Up there's Carla Garcia. Then you got Jackelyn Garcia, which is her sister. Then you got Jonathan. Oh my God. My mind just went blank. Well, it's the mother's boyfriend, Nanita. It's the mother's boyfriend. I think he's the ex now, but at the time he was the boyfriend. So let's go ahead and read this. So let's get back to this first page. So the detective here looks to be Alexa Hopkins. So full-time sworn police officer in Connecticut since 2016. So she got 9 years on the job and is currently assigned to the detective division. The following facts and circumstances are stated from personal knowledge, observations, investigations, or information received from fellow detectives acting in their official capacity. That on October 8, 2025, the New Britain Police Department received an anonymous tip concerning the location of a possible dead body behind 80 Clark Street in New Britain. New Britain Police Department responded and found the deceased in a plastic bin behind 80/88 Clark Street in New Britain. The deceased was in advanced stages of decomposition. Now, so even though this is New Britain Police Department, they believe that the homicide or the murder happened in Farmington. So that on 10/9/2025, that's the next day at approximately 9:30 hours, so it's in the morning, Farmington Police Department was notified by Inspector Forrest Beaulieu of GA 18 that the remains of a dead body have been located behind 80 Clark Street in New Britain on 10/8/2025. Investigation by New Britain Police Department determined that the remains may be that of a 12-year-old girl, tentatively identified as Jacqueline Torres-Garcia, date of birth 1/29/2013, that may have been killed in Farmington. That Inspector Beaulieu forwarded Farmington detectives a search and seizure warrant completed by the New Britain Police Department concerning a gray Acura MDX, and it says the VIN, that was determined to be connected to the investigation. According to that search and seizure warrant draft, the anonymous complaints were identified as, or complainants were identified as Cameron Davis, date of birth 7/25/91, and Jatime Abreu, date of birth 8/22/1991. And based on the interviews with Davis and Abreu, New Britain Police Department identified Thalia Marrero, date of birth 3/21/99, as the person who informed them about the tote box possible containing. Now, let me get to the next one. A dead body at 80 Clark Street, New Britain, Connecticut. That the New Britain Police Department interviewed Marrero, who stated that her boyfriend, Jonathan Jojo Nanita, date of birth 9/29/1995. Okay, so that is Carla's at the time of this report, that would be Carla's ex-boyfriend, but he is the one that was involved with Carla when all this horrible stuff was happening to Jacqueline. And Carla at one point even says that everything was because Jonathan pressured her, or he kind of basically made this all happen or wanted it all to happen. So let me go back to this. Hold on. So stated our boyfriend Jonathan Jojo Nanita, that's date of birth 9/29/95, picked her up at the end of September 29th or the 30th in his Acura and told her he needed to pick something up. She remembered Jonathan driving to a cemetery, picking up a tote, putting the tote in the trunk of the Acura, then driving to 80 Clark Street where he removed the tote from the trunk and placed it at the location. She remembered that the tote smelled bad. And thinking about it, Marrero believed that the tote may have contained the body and told their friends, Cameron Davis and Jadame Abreu. So this clears up a lot because I was wondering about that gap between there was a witness that they had said, so I guess this is the witness that noticed something around the 29th, but then they found the body on October 8th. So I was wondering what about that gap and how did it get from the cemetery to the abandoned house on Clark Street. That Inspector Bilo informed us that New Britain Police Department had interviewed Jonathan Nanita and his ex-girlfriend, Carla Garcia. So that's the mom of Jacqueline, date of birth 6/1/1996, of 24 Tremont Street, New Britain, Connecticut. Based on their interviews with Carla and Jonathan, they believed that the deceased body located inside the tote behind 80 Clark Street was Carla's daughter. Okay, so that's how she was identified right away. Jacqueline Torres-Garcia, whose date of birth was 1/29/2013. Both Jonathan and Carla indicated that the last time they had seen Jacqueline Torres-Garcia was in the fall of 2024 at 135 Wallington Drive in Farmington, where they were all living at the time. Both Carla and Jonathan described violent events at the house, and they believe led to her death. Based on that information, our department became involved in the death investigation. Okay, so that we learned that Carla Garcia had two children, Jacqueline Torres-Garcia, date of birth 1/29/2013, and NG, DOB 4/25/2014, and that's with Victor Torres. So Jacqueline looks to be the oldest of these two. And then date of birth for Victor Torres, that would be the father, and he's involved in, at one point, trying to get custody or saying he was trying to get custody, but it was his mom. So Jacqueline's paternal grandparents that had guardianship of her while, at one point, Carla in 2013, I think she was 16, she was in a detention center. And I know that she probably, when she got out, she was trying to get custody. But the whole time when Carla was trying to get custody belonged to, or the guardianship was given to the paternal grandparents, which was Victor Torres's mother and father. Carla then had three children with Jonathan and Nita. So you got date of birth of April 2nd, 2021 for JN. MM's date of birth 9/22/2022, and AN's date of birth is January 7th, 2025. And those are all with Jonathan and Nita, who was born 9/29/1995. So there's 5 kids here total for Carla. 3 with Jonathan and 2 with Victor. So that on 10/9/2025 at 9:30 hours, New Britain Detective Paul O'Connor attended the autopsy of the remains located in the tote behind 80 Clark Street in New Britain, Connecticut, at the office of the Chief Medical Examiner. OCME is the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner, and that's an examiner, and that's Farmington. Detective Martin later joined the autopsy in progress. The autopsy was conducted by Dr. Melissa Pasquale Stiles. Okay, guys, so just be careful. This gets a little graphic. Detective O'Connor reported that the autopsy began with the opening of the 40-gallon tote container and the removal of a white laundry basket containing a multicolored comforter and bed sheet. Inside the comforter were black plastic trash bags containing human remains. Dr. Pasquale Stiles identified the remains as an adolescent female who was folded at the waist with the legs curled up against the torso. And let me get to the next one. knees facing the skull, fetal position. The skin appeared to be glued to the bones, and the body had lost fluids which filled the bottom of the tote. The body weighed approximately 26 to 27 pounds. A pair of female underwear were still on the body, and there were short, dark, curly hair still attached to the skull. There was no fly of maggot infestation, but there was a strong odor of ammonia emanating from the remains. Additionally, a white powdery substance was observed and may have been poured on post-mortem. This was believed to be causing the smell of ammonia and was believed to be used in an effort to preserve the body mask of the decaying smell. Dr. Pasquale Stiles noted that the conditions of the corpse was due to severe malnourishment, not decomposition. She found no signs of trauma or injuries to the body that would have contributed to her death. She also saw no signs of internal bleeding. At 15:06, that's 3:06 p.m. hours, Dr. Pasquale Stiles contacted Detective O'Connor and advised that she had positively identified the body as that of Jacqueline Annette Torres, date of birth 1/29/2013. By comparison of post-mortem x-rays to pre-mortem x-rays provided by the Hospital of Central Connecticut. She further stated that the cause and manner of death are both pending further studies. Dr. Pasquale Stiles provided Detective O'Connor with a preliminary professional opinion that Jacqueline died of severe and prolonged malnourishment. She stated that due to the ammonia and lack of subcutaneous fat on the body, it's difficult to determine how long she had been deceased, but stated that it could be a year. So that on October 8, 2025, New Britain Police Detective Carl Morsowitz was assigned to interview Carla Garcia. Detective Morsowitz reported that he made several attempts to locate and or contact Carla at her residence, at her sister's residence, at a cousin's residence, and by calling Carla's cell phone. There's the number. New Britain investigators were concerned about the safety and well-being of Carla's 4 other children who ranged from 9 months old to 11 years old. As New Britain, okay, so someone asked what were the ages of the younger siblings. Well, at least the 2, or the 4, they're all, it looks like they're all younger than Carla, younger than Jacqueline. And they range from 9 months old to 11 years old. So Jacqueline would have been 12. So that gives, someone asked what were the ages. So that's there. So the youngest one would have been around 9 months. As New Britain investigators continue to search for Carla, New Britain patrol officers observed a Lexus-type vehicle operating erratically in the area where Carla was last reported to be. New Britain investigators eventually conducted a stop of the vehicle, and Carla was discovered to be an occupant, as well as her sister, Jackelyn Garcia. And again, the date of birth of her is 4/24/97. Detective Mordowitz, probably saying his name wrong, Mordowitz reported that Jacqueline was inebriated but traveled with a friend to the New Britain Police Department at this time, where she considered to be a voluntary interview with Detective Barry Hertzler. That I was later forwarded both interviews New Britain Police conducted with Jacqueline via Axon. Remember, this is Jacqueline's arrest warrant. The first occurred on 10/8/2025 at approximately 22:39:38 hours. So that's 10:39 p.m. The video captured an interview at the New Britain Police Department that had already begun for Jacqueline was speaking. Jacqueline spoke with Detective Hertzler, who was standing at the threshold of the interview doorway. Jacqueline slurred her words as she, okay, so she was a little wasted. Let me just get this in here. Next one. Spoke and appeared to be under the influence of drugs or alcohol. Detective Hertzler asked if she wanted to have a conversation and hang out a bit, and she stated, of course, consenting to the interview. Detective Hertzler attempted to build rapport with Jacqueline as he sat across from her. Jacqueline stated she went to jail on December 4, 2024 and served 8 months. It's funny because if she's inebriated, I think they should have held off on the interview until she was sober, because that could be an argument later on. But with that said, he didn't interview her, but someone did note that she was a little drunk. So I wonder if anything she said here could ever be utilized later on. That's just me jumping ahead, but she was drunk. Detective Hertzler commented that there was a lot going on tonight, referring to Jacqueline and Carla being located. Jacqueline commented that Jonathan Anita was not safe. Jacqueline stated that her sister's front door would not lock because he broke in and fucked it up. Jacqueline stated that today he came to the house and began talking crazy and threatened her. Jacqueline stated that Jonathan and her sister have 3 kids together and that Carla has 5 to 6 kids in total. Looks like 5. Jacqueline confirmed that Carla had 2 kids with someone else and 3 with Jonathan. So the 2 were with Victor, the first husband, or her husband prior, or the father. Let's just do the father because I forget they're married. So the father of Jacqueline Torres-Garcia, Mimi. Jacqueline stated the kids live with Carla on Tremont Street in New Britain. When asked what kids were with her today, she stated NG and Jacqueline. She stated NG and Jacqueline and mentioned MN. Detective Herzl advised that there were 2 other kids, and Jacqueline mentioned JN and AN. Detective Herzl asked if all the kids were there today, and Jacqueline stated, yep. When asked where they were now, Jacqueline could not answer. Jacqueline stated that the kids are good and never been in harm's way. Jacqueline stated she last saw all of them today. Jacqueline said she last saw Jacqueline at her sister's house this morning and then immediately corrected herself to say her older sister's house at 154 Kelsey Street. Detective Herzl stated he was there this evening and did not see Jacqueline. It should be noted that Jacqueline appeared intoxicated at this point in the interview to a point where she urinated in her pants. That on 10/9/2025, approximately 19:39, 7:39, Detective Herzl interviewed Jacqueline again at the New Britain Police Department. Jacqueline had been transported to New Britain headquarters in an unmarked detective vehicle, unrestrained, and told this interview was voluntary. Jacqueline mentioned she was stressed and commented that if she knew coming out of Niantic was going to be like this, she would have stayed. All right, Jacqueline stated this is crazy and that she had to take her Facebook down. Jacqueline stated she returned home on 8/15/2025 from Naniac prison. Jacqueline stated her kids were taken from her and were adopted. Jacqueline began rambling about 10/8/2025 and how the cops were at the house. Jacqueline stated she did not remember the interview room from the night before and stated her pants were wet and that she thought she peed herself. Jacqueline stated she had just found out everything yesterday, but admitted that she had not seen Jacqueline in months. During this interview, Jacqueline referred to her by her nickname, Mimi. Jacqueline appeared of sound mind and did not appear to be under the influence during the interview. So again, she already pulled back what she said the day before, and that probably whole way because she was drunk. But it looks like here they said that during this interview she was a sound mind and not under the influence. So Jacqueline finally stated she believed she was being interviewed because her niece was found on Clark Street behind an abandoned building in a bin. Jacqueline stated she lived in Farmington with Carla, Jonathan, Jacqueline, NG, JN, and MN. Jacqueline said she did not think AN had been born yet. Jacqueline said Jonathan was disrespectful and will call her names. Jacqueline said Jonathan would also physically assault Carla. Jacqueline initially said her sister's kids were well-fed and well-dressed and that she had never seen an issue with the kids while she was there. Jacqueline stated the kids did attend school and said she would get up and with them and do their hair before school. Jacqueline said the kids took a bus from the apartment complex. Jacqueline stated she moved in with Mariella Guigno, date of birth 5/12/90 in New Haven from September to early December 2024 and did not have a way to see the family. Jacqueline stated she saw all 4 kids before she went to New Haven in September. Jacqueline stated when she came out of jail on 8/15/2025, she was reunited with Carla and the kids, but stated she did not see Mimi. Jacqueline stated she was told Mimi was at a friend's house. That Jacqueline stated she wanted to ask more questions, but that Carla stated she could not talk to her because Jonathan was always there. Jacqueline stated she was worried about the kids because there were days her sister did not answer the phone. It should be noted that New Britain Detective Herzl had previously interviewed Mariella Guigno, who had voluntarily contacted police after seeing the news. Mariella stated Jacqueline showed her a photograph of Mimi while she was zip-tied, severely malnourished, and laying on dog pee pads to use as a bathroom. Mariella also confirmed that Jacqueline told her Mimi was experiencing extreme abuse from Carla and Jonathan, that Jacqueline never reported the abuse to police. Jacqueline was asked about the photograph and said Mimi had short hair and was skinny. Jacqueline stated Mimi was lying on the floor sleeping. Jacqueline admitted that Mimi was restrained with zip ties. So they caught her in a lie. So that was good. They asked her a question. She answered it freely. And then they went and told her, this is what we know. And then she adjusted her story. So 13, that Jacqueline said she last saw Mimi before she went to jail when she was living at the condo in Farmington. Jacqueline stated it was summer still. Jacqueline had difficulty providing an exact date of when she Last saw Mimi, but said at the end of summer because it had started to get cold. Jacqueline estimated possibly in August of 2024. Jacqueline had confronted with the fact that Mimi had now been at a family friend's for approximately 75 days. Jacqueline said she did not ask questions. Jacqueline said she did not know the girl was gone. It's crazy how much the story shifts. That on one occasion, Jacqueline asked Carla if Jonathan had done something to Mimi. Jacqueline stated Carla began crying and stated she did not know. Jacqueline stated this conversation happened last week, referring to the first week of October 2025. Approximately 125 hours into the interview, so an hour and 25 minutes into the interview, Detective Mordozowitz entered the interview room and informed Jacqueline that the body they found was Mimi. Jacqueline stated she had just found out today, 10/9/2025. Detective Mordozowitz told Jacqueline that Carla told detectives that Jacqueline was there when this happened and that she had taken a photo of Mimi zip-tied. It appeared Jacqueline could not recall if she took the photograph, where she tilted her head and asked herself if she took the picture. Jacqueline was asked what happened to her niece, and she shook her head as Detective Mordozowitz said that she helped zip-tie Mimi. Jacqueline acknowledged this, but commented that she did not come up with the idea to use zip ties. Jonathan did. Okay, so I didn't know that. So she actually, it says here that they said that Jacqueline helped zip tie Mimi. That's interesting. Jacqueline was asked what happened to her niece, and she shook her head as Detective Mordozowitz said that she helped zip tie Mimi. So I think they're talking about Jacqueline. So Jacqueline had more involvement than just taking pictures. Jacqueline acknowledged this, but commented that she did not come up with the idea. She used zip ties. So she's been lying the whole way. Now she didn't come up with the idea, but she was involved in it. She says Jonathan did. Jacqueline admitted to seeing her niece zip tied on a couple of occasions. Jacqueline was asked how long Mimi was deprived of food, and she stated she did not know, but that when she last saw her, she was already skinny. Jacqueline was asked several times during the interview what happened. Detective Mordozowitz informed Jacqueline that Mimi died in her bed from malnutrition, from not eating for weeks. Jacqueline stated when she went to Farmington, she observed her skinny. Jacqueline further stated Mimi was always in the corner of the house and the zip ties started at the end. I just want to reread. I just want to make sure I'm reading this part right. If she took the photograph or she tilted her out, because pretends she didn't take the photograph, but she did. Jacqueline was asked what happened to her niece, and she shook her head as Detective Mordozowitz said that she helped zip tie Mimi. And then Jacqueline acknowledged this, but commented that she did not come on. So yes, I guess if I read that correctly, she did more than just take a picture. She zip tied her. That Jacqueline was asked how Mimi died, and she said she did not know, but knew it was not from malnutrition. Jacqueline stated she suffered malnutrition for a long time. Jacqueline said her sister made her cut Mimi's hair because it was natty. Jacqueline stated she used to tell people to feed Mimi. Jacqueline provided an example of when NG made soup but did not make it for Mimi until Jacqueline told her to. Jacqueline stated while she was in prison, she used to ask Carla about how Mimi was. It was later confirmed that DOC located approximately 1003 phone calls. Oh, I'm thinking that's the Department of Corrections. Let me just see. Yeah, of course. While she was in prison, she used to ask Carla about how Mimi was. It was later confirmed that the Department of Corrections, that's the DOC, located approximately 1,003 phone calls between Carla and Jacqueline. These calls had not yet been screened or reviewed. They should be recorded. So, guys, there's kids in the house watching all this. That's insane. That during this interview, Jacqueline was confronted about how she witnessed the abuse take place and even photographed Mimi while she was zip-tied. Jacqueline nodded her head in the affirmative and stated she no longer had that photograph. Jacqueline stated she had a new phone. Jacqueline was asked why she would take a photograph of Mimi in that state, and she stated she asked Carla if she could take off the zip ties. Carla told her to remove the ones from her hands. Jacqueline stated Mimi was only zip-tied on her hands, in her bedroom. Jacqueline stated this went on for a while because when she got there, she was like that. Jacqueline was unable to provide specifics on Mimi's death or who had placed her in the bin, but said Mimi died in a different way, not from malnutrition. Jacqueline stated she had nothing to do with that. Jacqueline said there was one incident in which Mimi peed or defecated herself, and she watched Jonathan pick her up by her shoulders and bring her downstairs. Jacqueline said Jonathan hit her and she heard her crying. Jacqueline said Carla ran downstairs and the two began arguing. Jacqueline said she did ask Carla about Mimi while she was in prison. Guys, I want to mention something. She keeps on saying she didn't die of malnutrition, probably because that would probably involve her because she could have done something about it. So she's quickly saying that she was abused. So that puts more pressure on Jonathan that, there's no way she died of malnutrition because, that would involve her technically because she saw something that didn't happen and didn't do anything about it. So every time she says that, oh, he brought her downstairs, he beat her up, whatever it is, she's trying to tell them that it wasn't malnutrition, that he beat her. And that's why it was important to note that it says that she wasn't beaten, that it was malnutrition. So that's why all three have to be involved in this. Jacqueline estimated this conversation happened in January. Detective Mordowitz discussed the movement of the bin that Mimi was placed in. Jacqueline appeared shocked when he said that Jacqueline was placed in the bin and moved to Tremont Street. Jacqueline stated the cemetery where her mother is buried was dug up. Jacqueline stated that Carla told her that Jonathan moved the bin with his Acura and that Jonathan said he had to get rid of the bin because it was beginning to smell in the car. Jacqueline said the house on Tremont Street did not smell when she lived there, and Mimi was not there at any point. Hey, so wait, I just want to back it up. Jacqueline said the cemetery where her mother is buried was dug up. So, I mean, is she saying that the body of Jacqueline could have been buried with the mom? Because if it was dug up, does that mean that that's where the body was? In the tote? Jacqueline said she was instructed to watch Mimi, and if Mimi urinated on herself, she would shower her. When asked if she ever participated in hitting Mimi, Jacqueline took several seconds to respond, saying she used to grab her in a bear hug and bring her downstairs. Jacqueline stated the shower was downstairs. Jacqueline reported that NG would hit Mimi as well. So NG is one of the siblings. That Jacqueline confirmed she did not call police, an ambulance, or report this violent behavior to any other agency, and instead watched the neglect progress. Jacqueline said she would sneak Mimi food and water, and when she would take her downstairs to wash her face, Mimi would drink the sink water. The interview concluded, and Jacqueline was offered McDonald's. So guess she's trying to be the good guy in all this BS. But she failed to do what she was supposed to do. So all this other shit that she said she did probably didn't even happen. She let the girl die. That prior to coming to Jacqueline's interview, New Britain Detective Mordowitz had interviewed Carla at length about the treatment and death of Mimi. Carla confirmed that her sister Jacqueline not only participated in the abuse when she was at the Farmington house, but photographed Mimi zip-tied. So see that? Own sister turned against her. So, of course, Jacqueline is trying to cover herself. Jacqueline is just as dark as Jonathan as well as Carla. That a collect criminal history search showed that Jacqueline was arrested on 6/27/2023 in New Britain for 2 counts of risk of injury to a child and 2 counts of assault in the 3rd degree. Jacqueline subsequently served time in York Correctional Institution. Jacqueline is now supervised by Department of Corrections Parole Officer Alyssa DeJean out of Hartford. On 10/11/2025 at approximately 1400 hours, it's 2 o'clock p.m., I contacted Alyssa and left her a voicemail requesting a call back. On 10/12/2025, I spoke with Alyssa and briefed her on the incident. Alyssa advised that she would lodge a remand for Jacqueline. That on 10/11/2025, I spoke with DCF Intake Program Supervisor Alice Nett and requested all documented incident referrals involving the Garcia family to include Jacqueline. Alice provided me with Jackelyn Garcia's DCF case, which noted on 2/19/2022, CCMC Dr. Katie Rung reported physical abuse of 6-month-old IT, Jackelyn Garcia's daughter. Jacqueline reported to CCMC that the IT woke up irritable and appeared to be favoring her left leg. An x-ray showed a possible past injury or fracture to this leg where we didn't have this. This is more detail about the first abuse case she reported, had begun to heal. Jacqueline was further interviewed about IT's injuries and reported the baby fell off the bed and hit her head on the bedpost. Jacqueline did not believe the baby was injured because she stated she caught her before falling. Jacqueline reported symptoms of postpartum depression and admitted to feeling overwhelmed and needed help. Look how much the story changes. When they can't get the concern about, okay, well, she got injured this way, and they don't believe her, oh, I have postpartum. Look at the shift of the stories. And for people that really do suffer from postpartum, it's just such an insult. Jacqueline did not appear bonded. It's like weaponizing it. Jacqueline did not appear bonded with the baby, and as a result, both IT and her 2-year-old siblings were removed from her custody. A scan examination was conducted on IT, which showed she sustained several fractures to her skull, rib, and femur. She also had several bruises and injuries that ranged from 2 to 11 weeks old. The injuries were consistent with afflicted injury. And on 10/11/2022, Jacqueline consented to the termination of parental rights. Interesting. All right. So that on 10/12/2025, I traveled to 135 Wellington Drive in Farmington and met with the current homeowners. The homeowners moved from Arizona to the Wellington address on 7/3/2025. When they moved into the unit, they stated that it was a mess and very dirty. A used stroller was in the closet. Dark red-brown gunk was on the stairs. A twin mattress was left in the basement closet, and several bottles of cleaning products, including bleach, were also in the basement. The homeowner stated the apartment did not smell, but that several items were broken, including drawers, the dishwasher, and door handles. I asked if there were zip ties located anywhere, and they stated there were small zip ties found on the top of one of the air conditioners. The homeowners forwarded photographs of the apartment, which confirmed the damage. Guys, this girl suffered. This little girl suffered. That, in summary, Jackelyn Garcia admitted to residing with Carla Garcia and her family while they lived at a condo in Farmington, believed to be 135 Wellington in Farmington. During this time, Jacqueline admitted to observing her 11-year-old niece, Jackelyn Garcia, zip-tied in the corner of the residence where she was deprived of food and water and physically beaten when she urinated, defecated on herself. Jacqueline admitted that Jacqueline was extremely thin and was not well cared for. Jacqueline observed at least one incident in which Jonathan picked Jacqueline up by her shoulders, took her downstairs, and physically beat her as she cried. Jacqueline did not contact authorities about the abuse, neglect, or suspicious disappearance of her niece, even after having been involved in similar situations previously involving her own children. That, based on the facts and circumstances contained here, and I have probable cause to believe that Jackelyn Garcia, date of birth, has committed the crimes: cruelty to persons, unlawful restraint in the first degree, reckless endangerment in the first degree, and four counts, risk of injury. I respectfully request that a warrant to the arrest of Jackelyn Garcia be issued. Well done. Wow, there's a lot to read. If I read it right, just you correct me if I did, but it sounds like the sister said she also participated. Carla, the mother of Jacqueline, also said that Carla participated in the zip ties. It's crazy how she tries to paint one picture here, but the arrest warrant really, truly showcased her involvement. She is a pathological liar. Shifts her story the moment she's challenged. Guys, what's your thoughts on this? That was a interesting read, but a very needed read. This beautiful girl suffered. She suffered. And this only brings clarity to their suffering. As always, guys, the show is Tear Talk. Stay safe.